Good evening and welcome once again to Alpha Dat Training Up, and we'll be continuing in our research analysis class. In the previous class, we looked at how to formulate research questions and then different to formulate research questions, your type of research questions, method of data collections. We consider different aspect of it. And when designing your question, the different formats of it, we have the structure, choosing question types. We discussed that pilot testing, best practices in questionnaire design, examples, questions, and then today we want to look at data itself. Because as a research analyst, you must be able to understand what type of data you have and which in turn will inform your decision the type of statistical analysis to use. So data in its simplest definition, you look at it in forms of quantity, look at it in terms of numbers, look at it from an angle of facts, observation as well, measurement, and can be depicted in form of graph, and then as information when processed. Now, we'll move on to the different types of data. You must understand that a data can be nominal or ordinal. Okay, so these two simply means categorical. Let's leave the word qualitative at this point. Okay, it means it is categorical. And when you have discrete or continuous data, okay, we say, oh, these are continuous, they are not categorical. Okay, so that is it. That is if you are looking at it from this perspective. All right. Now, if you're looking at it from qualitative and quantitative, the term qualitative here is not talking about the form of research you are carrying out. We are looking at it from is still the quality of the person, that is description of the person. Or is it gender? The hair, is it black? Is it brown? Ethnicity, okay, later economical status, okay, that is this perspective. However, if you're looking at it from the perspective of research where you have to collect data, we said that over and over that data collected using interview schedule, observation checklist are qualitative data, while question data collected using questionnaire, we say they are quantitative uh, data. Okay, so I wouldn't want us to mix that up. Then we have different type of statistics. And that is why we are here. We have the descriptive statistics, and some call it exploratory statistics. Okay, basically, descriptive statistics summarizes and organizes data to present key characteristics in a comprehensible format. Okay, and the essence of it is to describe the basic feature of data is in summary, tables, or graph. Okay, it can be in frequency counts, percentage, mean, median, mode, skewness, kurtosis, okay, quantile. As the case may be, you're only describing the data. So we call such descriptive statistics. Okay, I've said this, the mean, median, mode. Okay, when you're looking at the that is central tendency. For dispersion, we have range, variance, standard deviation, interquartile range. Then for distribution, the frequency distribution, and it can be on a chart, that is your histogram. Okay, then when to use to provide an overview of data. Okay, so when you want to provide an overview of data, you must do this. Before you run your inferential statistics, it's important that you run a descriptive statistics. Please don't forget this. Don't just dive into your inferential. We want to know how many are they? How many are the male? How many are the female? That if your data is making use of gender. Okay? How many are they? The frequency count before proceeding to your inferential statistics. Now, what is inferential statistics? Statistics uses sample to make inferences. or generalization about a defined population. Okay, when you want to draw conclusion, okay, that you are making inference. Oh, there's no significant association or relationship or significant effect of a particular variable A on S. Or let me use it this way: there's no significant relationship between staff performance and job motivation. All right, these are inferential statistics. It's an assumption that you're saying that there is none. So after you are done with the test, you can now come to a conclusion. Oh, the result is showing that there is a relationship, there is an association, there is a causal effect. Okay, so techniques to use, we use point and interval estimation, then hypothesis testing. We have the t-test, ANOVA, chi-square test. Regression analysis, we have the simple linear regression, multiple linear regression. All these are different examples to inferential statistics. Okay, then when do we use it? When studying a population is impractical or impossible, that is one. When you want to predict or explain the relationship between variables, okay? When you want to assess significance of research findings, okay, we use inferential statistics. Then we are now moving forward. Now, at this point, we are looking at it from the angle of parametric and non-parametric statistics. That is another category of statistics. And usually, before you talk about your descriptive, your inferential, you must be able to know if your data is parametric data or is non-parametric data. Now, let's pick it from the angle, the lens of parametric statistics. It means that the data you are using that you want to analyze follows specific distribution. In other words, it is normally distributed. Okay, and the purpose of this is it provides more powerful, precise analysis if assumptions are met. And that is why I used to tell people, before you run your inferential statistics, it is important you test to ensure that the assumption are being satisfied. Once you have a parametric data, you think, oh, this is a parametric data. Does it follow a normal distribution? Oh, yes, it does. It follows normal distribution as another assumption. Then, if you are running for, let's assume you are running for linear regression. Oh, does it follow, is the data linear? You use your PP plot to test. Okay, so that is that about parametric statistics. Let's move on. Examples of parametric statistics. You have t-tests, ANOVA, Penson correlation coefficients. Before we proceed, you may be thinking that, okay, what type of data is parametric? When you have an actual score, for instance, score of students, this guy scored 20 in test, scored 30, he scored 40. This is a normal score. All right, is parametric in nature. Or you went to the lab and then you had 50 mole per DMQ to an experiment. Your record is an actual score. It is not an assumption. Okay. So when you have a normal score, numbers, I will say, no, this is not an assumption. They are numbers. We said, okay, this is parametric. Now, if we are using questionnaire and then they are ticking, once they tick and then you say, okay, this is 4, is that is not parametric because it's not a normal score. Okay, so that is non-parametric as statistics. But once it is a normal score, we say that it is parametric in nature. Okay, so example of such tests that we said we are using parametric statistics. Such tests, we have the t-test, we have ANOVA, we have the Penson correlation. Okay, we have the Yankova, among others. So when the data meets specific assumptions, and what are the assumptions? Normality, homogeneity, or variance. There's no bias, there's no much variance among them. Okay, with interval or ratio scale data. Okay, then non-parametric statistics. Non-parametric statistics basically does not rely on assumption. about data distribution. It doesn't rely on assumption, but for parametric, it rely on assumption. Then the purpose of non-parametric, it is useful for analyzing categorical data or call ordinal data, okay, or when parametric assumptions are violated. When you now notice, okay, this data has violated the assumptions for parametric statistics. Yes, okay, let's go ahead and use our non-parametric statistics. Example of it, let's move on before, okay, I guess we should have it here, otherwise I'll mention that, okay, we have them here. We have the Man-Watney test, okay. We have, this is the opposite of your uh, P, that is your T test. You have Kruskal-Wallis test, that is your ANOVA, opposite of your ANOVA. Then the Spearman rank correlation, this is opposite of your PPMC, and then Kendall tau B, Kendall tau C. All these are examples of non-parametric. And then when to use, when the data is ordinal or nominal, that is categorical. When sample size are small or data distribution is unknown, you don't know if it's normally distributed or not, or we use non-parametric. Okay, I believe we are following. This is just a summary table to differentiate between parametric and non-parametric tests. Parametric tests used for ratio or interval, non-parametric tests for ordinal or nominal. Then parametric tests used for nominal distribution, then non-parametric any distribution. Mean is usual central tendency for parametric, while for non-parametric it is median. Then for parametric tests, information about population is completely known. Then for non-parametric, no information is available. Then a parametric test, specific assumption made regarding population. For non-parametric, assumption-free test. So we said explain that while we are explaining the differences between parametric and non-parametric statistics. I know at the course of the class, we will go deeper to different statistical tests as it borders on parametric and non-parametric. Okay, this is just a chart. Okay, we have parametric tests and non-parametric tests at the other end. Then for non-parametric tests, we have one sample, two sample. When you have one sample, and then you are thinking, I only have one column here. Okay, I only have one column in this my data set. How would we can use t-test, one sample t-test. If the data is more than, the sample is more than 30, that is the entry is more than 30. So, okay, let's use z-test. Then if you have two sample, that is two column, that is two group, you can use independent sample t-test. You can use z-test too. You can use pair t-test when you have equal rows and column. Okay, you can use pair t-test. Now, for non-parametric, when you have one sample, you can use chi-square. You can run binomial test as well. Then for two sample, you can also use chi-square, Man-Watney U, and then for paired sample, you can use sine Wisconsin. You can use your chi-square as well. All right. Another thing we'll be moving on to is what we call univariate statistics and multivariate statistics. Now, from the word uni, it means one. Okay, so when you are analyzing a single variable, for instance, gender is a single variable, it's a univariate analysis. I want to know how many are male, I want to know how many are female. Okay, so that is univariate. All right, and the purpose of univariate is to understand and to describe single variable distributions and characteristics. Usually when you run your descriptive statistics, you usually do this, the univariate statistics. Then techniques, we have your mean distribution, we have the frequency distribution, we have the mean, we have the standard deviation. When to use to summarize or describe one variable. Okay, to analyze the distribution of a variable before exploring relationship with another. So before you go ahead with exploring relationship, you would have to run a univariate analysis first. Then we have bivariant. From the word bi means two. Okay, when you are examining relationship between two variables, association between two variables, okay, we said is bivariant statistics. All right. So the purpose is to identify correlation or causal relationship between two variables. For instance, your PPMC, okay, your experiment rank, Kendall B, okay, all these are used for bivariant. Your chi-square regression analysis as well can be used for bivariant analysis. So, and when do you use bivariant analysis? When you are testing for association between two variables or relationship between two variables. Another thing is you are testing hypothesis involving two variables. Please don't forget all these things you are saying. You need to know this as a statistician and as a research analyst. Then the next one is multivariant statistics. Now, from the word multi, meaning that it's more than two. Okay. Now, it analyzes more than two variables simultaneously, and it tends to explore the relationship, a complex relationship rather, and pattern among the variables, where you have so many independent variable and then one dependent variable. Okay, you can run your multivariant statistics. You can use your regression, multiple linear regression for that. You can use multiple linear regression to test for this multivariant statistics. And then the techniques, okay, look at it. Say, well, you can use factor analysis, cluster analysis, multiple regression, and we have maneuver as well. Okay, then we are going to use to analyze interactions among multiple variables in a complex data set where relationship between several factors need to be established or need to be known. So you can use uh, multivariant analysis. I guess you are together. Okay, if you are together, you can use the comment box and to type yes, we are together. Then another type of statistics is the time series statistics. Now, when you are forecasting or you want to check previous, you want to understand the pattern of things. For instance, let's use this example: prevalence of malaria in a particular location. It should be done across the months of the year. So when you are telling, okay, in the month of March, we have high prevalence of malaria outbreak compared to the month of December. No, it is seasonal. So we use it to identify trends, seasonal pattern, or cyclic behavior. So at this time, you have your but independent variable across time. Okay, and usually we use line charts to depict it. All right. So time series statistics. And then, okay, techniques, moving average, exponential smoothing, ARIMA. Then when to use for forecasting or understanding trends over time. Not only that, in financial, economic, and environmental studies. Let's move on. Then we also have experimental statistics. Experimental statistics deals with data from control experiment. When we say control, it means the research was under a control environment where you have your parameters and then your control variable. Okay, I had so move at DMQ to my treatment group, and this is what I observed. Immediately I added this, or I gave this. Let's assume you are checking the is it lipidation now. Okay, hyperlipid in a particular animal, and then you give them one maybe one particular treatment, and then you observe the weight. So okay, after we did this one is a treatment group, this one we did not treat it, this is what we observe. Cool. Means that if we treat, they tend to add more weight. Oh no, if you did not treat, they tend not to add any weight. So that is to test cause and effect relationship under a control environment. Okay, so we have that. as well. So let's look at techniques. So we have the RCT, control randomized control trials, then factorial design, then usually ANOVA is being used to test for cause and effect. In this case, we have more than two groups. That's when we use ANOVA. So when to use? When designing and analyzing experiments to establish causal relationships. And finally, tonight we'll stop here. List of statistical tests. Okay, I have been mentioning some of all these. Okay, so we'll stop here so that in our next class we'll look at the list of statistical tests and we'll mention them so you know what each test does. Okay, so we'll be stopping here. I want you to take time to listen to this class again and then attempt to your assignment. Thank you for listening. If you've not subscribed, please do well to subscribe.